Good morning, survivors, and happy Wednesday. Today we're going to talk about the smear campaign and how it works, but I'm answering a question from a viewer, so let's take a look, all right? Let's get started.
My name is Angie Atkinson, and this channel is all about teaching you what I know to be true. You really can create the life you want.
But first, do you have your coffee? Today I'm drinking out of my lovely Queen Bee cup, and I've got two of those. One of them came from my sister Piper and her boyfriend Joey, and the other one came from a viewer. So thank you. So Rachel Campbell asks,
Hey Angie, Rachel from Span. My question for you is, how can we get over the smear campaign on the other side? Once the narcissist has smear campaigned you and you see that people, my ex-narcissist family, just completely blocked me off everything, how is it possible for them to not hear, what I actually went through, what I physically went through, and believe the smear campaign? How do you tell yourself that they are not worth it and you just need to get up and you need to do something else? How do you hold in that anger? How do you get rid of that anger? I'm actually on my way to therapy right now, so if you could answer the question, that would be great. But the smear campaign bothers me, Angie, and I have borderline personality disorder, so you can probably understand that I have the revenge-like kind of attitude.
So Rachel, number one, I understand the anger. You're not alone in that. It's something that a lot of us feel. So the first thing that I would recommend for you is to work on intentionally changing your thoughts, because the anger isn't going to do you any good. And so something that you can do is focus on what you can control and not what you can't control. So don't allow them to have free rent in your head when you are dealing with things on a daily basis. Another suggestion for you, Rachel, is to begin a meditation practice. Something I like to do, and I know I've told you guys this a million times, but I'm going to tell it one more time. Something I like to do is when I find myself having thoughts I feel like that are out of my control, or thoughts that are limiting me in some way, I say to myself, I now cancel that thought and replace it with this affirmation of my true divine desire. And when I do that, often it changes my whole focus, because then I focus on something I do want. Another thing, Rachel, is you can do the 10 and 3 thing. Every day, think of 10 things you're grateful for and 3 things you love about yourself. And anytime you're feeling especially overwhelmed by a smear campaign, you can remind yourself of 10 things you're grateful for and 3 things you love about yourself. And remember that narcissists are limited, and unfortunately they are also limiting to the people in their lives, such as those flying monkeys you mentioned. How do you deal with a smear campaign? That's a very good question, and that is what we're about to talk about. So obviously you found yourself under fire again, right? You're the victim of yet another smear campaign, courtesy of your toxic narcissist. The everyday average person cannot imagine what it's like to experience a smear campaign at the hands of someone they love. That's because in general, people who love you would never ever consider such bad behavior. But narcissists are different. They have no empathy. They're far more likely to engage in manipulative behavior, as we already know. And for one main reason, they will do literally anything to get what they want, and that of course includes maliciously lying or spreading rumors or exaggerations about you. So let's talk about the smear campaign. What is that exactly? Our viewer kind of defined it a little bit in her video, but if you look up smear campaign in the dictionary, you will find that it's the political version of the term matches up with the narcissistic one, and it's a deliberate attack on someone by spreading an untrue or unpleasant rumor about them, and or by making an accusation intended to damage their reputation. So quite simply, that's what a narcissist does when they feel threatened or otherwise concerned that they might lose their narcissistic supply, or once they realize they've lost a supply, as in this case. And contrary to the popular belief, a narcissist who stoops to this level of creating a smear campaign is not crying out for help. Rather, they're crying out for attention, and in many cases, for a new source of supply. So a lot of narcs will use sob stories, such as, this person has treated me so poorly, poor me, feel sorry for me, as part of their love bombing and or hoovering. And especially when they're hooking up or looking for a new victim. So they're trying to, re-hook you once you get away, sometimes too. So why do they run the smear campaigns? What are the neurological components of that? Well, as someone who isn't a toxic narcissist, none of this is going to make a lot of sense to you, right? But you might find yourself feeling shocked or even confused by the smear campaign because it's not normal behavior. The fact is that unless you're intentionally educating yourself about toxic narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder, you really can't understand the way a mind works inside of a narcissist. They're not normal. That's because it doesn't work the same way a normal person's mind would. The fact is that most people feel empathy for other people in their lives and they'd never want to hurt someone they love, but narcissists don't really see other people as people who are on the same level as them. So to put it bluntly, you're not a person to a narcissist. That's because according to Robert Hare, PhD, their information, including their emotional information, is scattered all over both of their brain hemispheres. It takes too long for the brain to retrieve and process information, and the entire process of socialization becomes so difficult for them that ultimately it fails. So living with a narcissist, obviously, as you know, puts you in a really hard spot. You sort of forego the simple pleasures in life. Rather than taking a fun stroll down memory lane and laughing together, you find yourself feeling like you're literally sleeping with the enemy when you're dealing with a narcissist. It's like the very stuff that makes life worth living becomes forbidden to you. And as you watch those people in healthy relationships around you have normal, healthy interactions with their loved ones, the pain becomes even more intense for you. But as always, you smile as you die inside just a little bit. Each time your voice gets silenced, each time you are blamed and shamed for reacting to your narcissist's emotional and verbal abuse. Sadly, this behavior is entirely normal for toxic narcissists. You see, they are people that psychologists group in the cluster B personality disorder area, and these types are known to pathologically lie, gaslight, and run smear campaigns on their victims. So while the narcissist is capable of understanding that social harm, damage, and general invalidation is basically violating your human rights, it doesn't stop them. And they also continue with lying and manipulating people, trying to gaslight them, and knowing that they're morally wrong. But they recognize the moral wrongness. As they do, they equally show no concern about it. And as they actively work to recruit the flying monkeys, people who willingly or not do the narcissist's bidding, flying monkeys. I've done whole videos about that. So what does a smear campaign look like? Well, for example, a narcissist might run a smear campaign on a friend or even a spouse by making up rumors and stories about the target's mental health or lack thereof, which is what our viewer is dealing with the abuse. The victim's credibility is undermined in advance, see? The narcissist will then point out the victim is behaving exactly as he or she predicted that they would, which is, of course, using the victim's natural response to this outrageous smear campaign against him or her. Worse, a narcissist actually kind of gets off on this whole stuff, on the whole deal. The idea of getting away with something actually gives them something to feel excited about. They have no empathy for anyone else, and they only show feelings of remorse if it becomes necessary to do so, as in if they get caught. As the victim spirals through the pain and the emotional torment of being publicly humiliated and experiencing the deepest depths of shame, betrayal, and general invalidation, the narcissist feels no sadness, no remorse. Rather, they find themselves feeling physical, emotional, and psychological pleasure. The narcissist will project whatever image might suit their needs at that moment onto the target, and they use this to self-stroke their ego. It's a lot like emotional masturbation. I've said that term before, which they accomplish by manipulating other people's relationships and creating situations in which they can triangulate people, see? Then they lie about one of their sources to another and end up feeling very powerful, at least for a moment. And these days, one of the easiest and most effective ways to covertly bully a victim is through social media. This might begin subtly at first, as in sharing a pointed meme or, quote, or it might be more overt, like directly calling out the victims on social media. This usually involves some perceived offense in which the target stands up for himself or herself and is rewarded with a big old case of narcissistic injury. Y'all know what I'm talking about? That's when the narcissist acts like you've hurt them by reacting to their abuse. And even harder to swallow is the fact that the narcissist will often claim to be victims of their own kinds of abuse, and they'll play the injured party while they torment their targets secretly. And when a kind-hearted person takes pity on the poor, injured narcissist, as they inevitably do, the narcissist feels validated, and immediately understands that they've found a new potential target, or at the very least, a new flying monkey. What it all comes down to is the fact that since narcissists are virtually incapable of normal human emotional behavior, they must manufacture joy and happiness by taking a rather sadistic pleasure in being the predatory creatures that they are. Even if they're directly confronted with actual facts that invalidate their lies, narcissists will hold on to those lies. Worse, the longer the smear campaign continues, the more committed the narcissist becomes, and the more outrageously they will behave. So how do you deal, as our viewer asked, how do you deal with a narcissist who is actively smear campaigning you? Honestly, while exposing the narcissist to people in his or her life may help some of them get a clue and stop allowing themselves to be the narcissistic supply, it'll really only temporarily slow the narcissist down, and it's kind of hard to prove yourself in these cases. In fact, it will give the narcissist the proper fuel they need to get the next supply on the line. Unfortunately, their very own savior, you know what I'm talking about? Because of course, in the narcissist version of the story, you'll become the crazy bitch who was just so mean and hateful and hurtful that you tried to make, their friends and family hate them. You feel me? It's a cycle. It's not worth it. It will only further serve to make you miserable. If you're still dealing with a narcissist, try this tip. If you're stuck with a narcissist because you're co-parenting, which I know in this case you're not, or because they're your boss or your mother-in-law or whatever, and you can't just go no contact for some reason, this is for the other viewers in the audience today, the best response is to use the gray rock method, which we've talked about, in which you literally don't have any emotional reaction at all ever to that person. But the best solution to dealing with smear campaigns in general is this. It's the best and the only solution to dealing with this kind of person and remaining completely, or at least partially sane, and becoming happy in your life, is to take back your power and to choose to create the life you really want, with or without the narcissist. Hopefully without, for most of us. Most likely without. But going no contact or low contact is statistically the most successful way to do it. And it's the only kind of sure thing you can answer, sure thing kind of answer you can find. So what do you think? This is the question of the day. Have you ever been the target of a smear campaign? How did you handle it? Tell me. Share your thoughts and your comments below, and let's discuss it. You never know who your story can help. All right? Okay, I'm going to wrap up for now. I hope this has been helpful for you. What you need to focus on, dear reader, dear viewer, is this. You need to focus on Rachel. You need to focus on yourself. You need to focus on staying calm, staying composed. And if somebody questions you about the smear campaign, you calmly tell the truth. Otherwise, you don't speak about it. You don't try to make accusations to the narcissist. You don't try to stand up and act crazy. You keep yourself calm and composed, and you tell your truth as you understand it, only when you're asked. Otherwise, you say nothing. It's not worth your time or your energy. All right? I got to wrap up for now. Someone's calling my name. I'll see you guys soon. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you later today for another video, and thanks so much for being a part of my day and a part of my life, and thanks for letting me be a part of yours. Please do ask questions if you have additional questions in the comments below, and I'll be happy to answer them either in the comments or in a future video. See you soon.
It's my mission to teach others what I know to be true. You really can create the life you want. Take care of your body, take care of your soul, nurture the real you, and introduce him or her to the world. Be comfortable in your own skin and in your place in this world. Take your spot, take it now, and the universe will take its cue from you. You feel me? If so, subscribe to my channel. Let's get it done together.